For hundreds of great shows like this one, go to OnNetworks.com.
In fantasy football drafts, you always hope for the best, but you should also prepare for the worst.
In this episode, we'll tell you some of the binds you might find yourself in this year and how to get out of them.
You know the drill!
It's time for Fantasy Football's 5-Minute Drill, quarterbacked by Cecil Lammey and Sigmund Bloom.
Two teams in every draft get the mixed blessing of having bookend picks. Now, if you have to wait up to 20 picks until your next selection, we suggest using one on a position of need and one on best player available. If a run hasn't started yet, you need to consider taking action because if you wait, by the time it gets back around to you, it will be all over. So don't shy away from being the first team to select a position like the first backup quarterback or your first team defense.
So you're sitting in the 12 hole. What if the first 11 picks are running backs? Take Moss? Take Brady? No. If your league values running backs that highly, then nothing will be left at the 3-4 turn. You have to take the last of our top 12 running backs and then take Jamal Lewis, the last of the probable feature backs who are powerhouses. You'll find good value at wide receiver at the 3-4 turn.
We strongly recommend taking a running back in the first, but if you didn't listen to us and got a couple of elite wide receivers, well, you'll be sweating running back production all year. Consider some of the overlooked backs, like a Julius Jones or Rudy Johnson. Now, they could be bust, but they also could lead their team in carries not only between the 20s, but also in the red zone. You may also want to consider cornering the market in some murky situations. Take both of the Carolina backs, both of the Houston backs, and some of the Denver backs.
What do I do about handcuffs? Well, there are at least 4 you have to take because the price is right. Sammy Moore's for Maroney, Jacob Hester for Tomlinson, Ray Rice for McGahee, and Brandon Jackson for Ryan Grant. All of these guys can run the ball 20 times plus a game, and they'll save your team from a devastating injury. Start considering them around the 12th or 13th.
Adrian Peterson's only risk is his fragility, so ADP owners have to ask themselves, when do I pull the trigger on Chester Taylor? Our suggestion is wait until the pick comes back around to you at the end of the 6th. Taylor could be a top 10 back if your franchise stud goes down, and even if he doesn't, put Taylor in your lineup as a flex. He could be the 25th best running back when all is said and done.
Every draft has the classic backup quarterback run, and you need to make sure you start it instead of end it, because the drop-off from the top 17 or 18, guys like David Garrard and Matt Schaub, to the next group, guys like Jason Campbell and Jeff Garcia, is severe. If you feel the need to start it around early, do it. If you get truly hosed, the cost will be an extra roster spot to take both Arizona quarterbacks because one should emerge as a solid fantasy option.
You know, I just noticed that a lot of my team is off on the same bye week. What do I do? The answer, nothing. Who cares? Why go with an 85% team for 6 to 8 straight weeks when you could just suffer through 1 week with a roster full of bench guys? Now, frankly, I would rather hope for some fluky games from some of my backups all at once than limp through the middle of the season down a man each game.
It happens to the best of us. What if you're on the clock and you don't know what to do? Well, when in doubt, take a running back. They're still the prime commodity and they can explode overnight. Think Ryan Grant and Ernest Graham from last year. We like Work Done, Liddell Betts, Maurice Morris, and Kenny Watson, and they should be available in almost any round. Worst case scenario, you'll cut the guy in week 1 or week 2 for a waiver pickup.
If you realize you made a mistake and overlooked somebody you wanted or the guy you really coveted went just before your pick, don't let the frustration get to you. If you're in person, try not to punch somebody in the face. If you're online, take the cap locks off and don't go crazy with the exclamation points. If the other owners know of your frustration, they'll razz you to the point of throwing you off your game, and later on, if you want to trade for that guy, they'll know they can bleed you.
Pay very close attention to opponents' rosters and drafting tendencies to help you predict who they will take next. This can help you see a run coming and tip you off to when you can wait around for that 3rd running back or 4th wide receiver. Be willing to take the smart risk, but avoid the unnecessary gamble.
So we've talked about this year's players and this year's strategy, but I feel like we're missing a level.
In the final episode of the 5-Minute Drill Draft Guide, we'll give you our draft philosophy.
Thanks for watching the 5-Minute Drill.
For hundreds of great shows like this one, go to OnNetworks.com.